One of the great friends that LaCie Broadcasting has is the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews and Rabbi Yael Eckstein, and we're privileged to have his daughter, Yael, with us today, live here in Jerusalem. Yael, welcome to the Harvest Program.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Now, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, you're very active in the United States, and a lot of people have seen the programs and talking about helping people, not only here in Israel, but all over the world, really, from the Jewish people. How important is it for people to support the nation of Israel in particular, and what are the issues specifically here in Israel?
Well, I'll tell you that for generations, Christians and Jews have read the Bible and prayed for prophecy to be fulfilled. And this is the first time in history, because of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, that Christians could actually take part in making prophecy happen and not just stand by and watch. Mm-hmm. So there is a real need. As we learn in the Bible, there will always be poor in your land, and it's in order that we could open up our hands and help. So by the work that the fellowship does here in Israel, that was my father, Rabbi Yael Eckstein's vision of to fulfill biblical prophecy, help the people, and enable Christians in America to have a part in Israel.
Now when people see a lot of news about Israel, they see a very prosperous country. Tourism is up, the economy seems to be doing extremely well, but there is a group of people that are being left behind and they really can't make ends meet.
Well, unfortunately, 1 in 3 children live below the poverty line.
Wow.
So although it's the high-tech and amazing medical facilities that we have and that we're coming out with every day, all the innovations, what is reported in the mainstream news, the lower class, which is 1 in 3 children, are going to sleep hungry every night.
Wow. That's hard to believe because this is such an agriculturally rich nation, and technologically rich nation, and yet the problems here in Israel are probably very similar to what we have in the United States, where we're a very blessed nation. But at the same time, there are people who have distinct needs, and the fellowship is reaching out to help them.
Exactly, and I'll tell you the difference between the needy in Israel and the reality here on the ground and in America is that here in Israel, the whole country was established in 1948. And so essentially everyone is immigrants. We have immigrants from Ethiopia, the lost tribes that the fellowship has brought to Israel, from the former Soviet Union, from Arab lands. I've never had an education, have never seen running water, electricity. And so what we have here in Israel is a whole new generation that we have to educate from new. And it's something that before the fellowship got involved, they were falling between the cracks. All of the immigrants would come here and they would lose their identity and they would lose a future. It was the cycle of poverty continuing generation after generation. And that's the fellowship's vision and goal. We reach out to the elderly, Holocaust survivors, and we provide them with food packages and medicine and heating for the winter. And then we look at the younger generation and we say, there's still hope. You might not have parents that could educate you, but we will be here to tell you how you could have a successful future and klita, absorption in the Holy Land.
Now, you've assisted people from all over the world to immigrate to Israel. Now, just recently you were mentioning that you came back personally from the former Soviet Union. What's the purpose and what's the fellowship doing regarding the Jewish people in those parts of the world?
Well, we have a program called Isaiah 58 that we saw in the biblical land of the north. There are many Jewish people living in such poverty that I can't even describe to you. They live in shacks that here in any Western country we would use for our chickens, but it's elderly Holocaust survivors or little children living without running water, a little well in their backyard that in the freezing Russian winters they have to go and try to get water out. So what the fellowship does is we go and we give them food boxes donated with love from Christians in America to tell them that they're not alone, they're not forgotten, and that is essentially what's keeping them alive in the biblical land of the north.
Now, here in Israel also, the fellowship has not only provided food and assistance, but you've also been a great provider of really the first responder activity. Maybe describe that a little bit regarding, some of the work with the fire trucks and searchlights and those kind of things.
Well, the fellowship has been so effective and efficient with getting every penny that we receive from our donors. We look at it as God laid it on their heart, and we distribute it accordingly to make sure it gets to the people that need it most. And so I'm here on the ground. My father, Rabbi Eckstein, is on the ground, and we have all the staff that make sure that the people that need it most receive it. And the Israeli government has noticed that, and they've turned to us to be their partners in protecting the citizens of Israel, providing bomb shelters, fire trucks that they recognize as their responsibility, and that's why we're partners, because they've come to us and said, we are surrounded by enemies. We have neighbors that want to destroy us. All of our money is going towards ensuring that the borders are safe, that our military technology is one step ahead of every other country in the Middle East, that we are lacking funds for some very basic essentials to keep the people of Israel safe. And so the fellowship has partnered with the government not to take responsibility off of them, but to work with them to develop a plan that the people of Israel could be safe. And as God commands, comfort ye my people, nachamu, nachamu ami, that Christians in America are providing bomb shelters, fire trucks, searchlights, first responders, equipment that's saving lives every day, and especially during war, just as God commanded us, just as I will bless those that bless my people of Israel. What better blessing is there than keeping his people safe?
All right, Yael, I've got a tough question for you.
Okay.
Sorry about this.
Okay.
You've got detractors on both sides, both here in Israel from some of the more Orthodox Jewish people, and also in the United States from some people who don't believe that this is the right thing to do. But why should evangelical Christians support the Jewish people and the nation of Israel?
Well, it doesn't come from the mouth of man, it comes from the mouth of God. God says the Jewish people here, the land of Israel, right behind us, is part of prophecy. And if the Christian people want to not only show the Jewish people that they are loved, that they are cared for, that they're in the hearts of Christians all over the world, and especially when the UN, the EU, the Arab Union, that everyone is against Israel, if we really have friends, millions of Christian friends that stand with Israel, this is the best way to show it, by fulfilling God's word, God prophecy, and letting it get to the people that need it most. It's a prayer of love and a friendship, and it really is bridging those ties between the Christian and Jewish community in a way that God has been speaking about to us through the Bible forever.
Well, Yael, thank you so much for being with us, and
Thank
please
you.
should be sure to thank your father. You were just telling me he's in Argentina.
Correct.
And that's terrific. He's down there working with the Jewish Federation and working with the Jewish community, and what a great work you guys do. And we really can think of nothing better to support than, frankly, the ministry of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. And we're very thankful for them to be on our network.